Now, back on this shipping nightmare, the bottleneck, the supply chain issues, it's not just a headache, it's now starting to become a problem that is affecting us all and it's costing us. When will this end? Will it just wash through, or is this going to be something that persists for quite some time? Joining me live now is the chair of the ACCC, Rod Sims. Rod Sims, thanks so much for your time. First of all, can we get to the problem? What is at the heart of the problem here, as you see it?
The heart of the problem is that you've got a finely tuned container freight shipping system, which is really quite a lean system, works really well most of the time and very cost effective. Then you've had an increase in demand as people were buying more goods because they couldn't buy services because of COVID, so they couldn't get a haircut, so they went out and bought a razor for themselves. And then, and the most important, is you had COVID affecting ports and shipping. So, for example, a port in China, one of the biggest in the world, had a COVID outbreak, closed the port for a few weeks, and of course the ships just build up. Now, when they build up, that cascades right through the system. So problems all over the place come together and just cause chaos throughout the system. So we're in a real mess with our container freight, I'm afraid, and it's a very painful mess.
It certainly is. So given that, the delays and the knock-on effect, are we seeing, structural changes in the shipping supply lines, or do you expect that they will just wash through eventually?
They'll largely wash through because whenever we stop having COVID incidents that close ports, and of course in China you've got a problem because they're trying to eliminate COVID, so it doesn't take much for an incident in China to close a port, but hopefully that'll be behind us, and then yes, the system will catch up and repair itself. I think though in Australia we've just got a continuing history of industrial disruption which comes and goes, but the problem, at the moment, what makes the problem in Australia worse than overseas is we've got industrial disputes on top of the mess we're inheriting from the rest of the world anyway. And when we fix the rest of the world problem, we'll still have an IR problem at our ports. So that's the underlying problem. Our ports perform very poorly when compared with ports overseas.
Do you see it as opportunistic industrial action at the moment at a time where we can least afford it? And how much is it costing us?
I don't know that it's opportunistic because it just happens again and again, I'm afraid. What I think is unfortunate is to be doing it at a time when our container freight system is really on the ropes. And it's costing us a lot. The classic example is an industrial disruption at the port of Fremantle meant that 38 combine harvesters couldn't get offloaded. They had to be sailed around to the east coast and transported by land. So that's massive extra cost, massive delay. Because of shortages at the Port Botany in Sydney, some ships just wouldn't stop there because of the uncertainty over whether they'd get unloaded because of industrial disputation. So it has made things worse. It's really hard to separate out how much is the worldwide COVID problem, how much is industrial disputation, but it's certainly an extremely unfortunate time to have industrial disputes.
Yeah, it certainly is. Your report this morning says the shipping industry has been more concentrated over the past decade. This is certainly would play into all of that. As the ACCC boss, what do you propose should be done in the short to long term?
Oh, look, I can see three things that we should do. Firstly, we need to somehow improve the industrial landscape on our ports. It's about as bad as it is anywhere in the world, and we've really got to fix that. Secondly, we have privatised a lot of our ports without any regulation, so there's privately owned monopolies who aren't regulated, and that's seeing land rents go up and other problems. And thirdly, we have a thing called Part 10 in the Competition and Consumer Act, which allows the shipping companies to reach agreements amongst competitors to control supply of freight and freight rates. And really, we wouldn't allow that in any other industry, so we shouldn't allow it in shipping either.
Rod Sims, you are a very busy man. This is not the only thing you're working on, so we appreciate your time, especially this morning.
No, thanks for your interest. Thank you.